Welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast, your number one opinion source for all things entertainment. Join host Marco Mazzola as he sounds off on the latest movies, TV, music, gaming, comic books, and more. Now, here's the man of the hour, Marco Mazzola.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast. I am, as always, your host, Marco Mazzola, and we are joined by our ranters today. We're going to go back around the room the other way and say hello to Mila.
Hello.
And hello, Larry.
Hey.
Yo, Bruno.
Chris, you in there? Yeah, Dad, I'm old.
I'm old. So, gang, as Bruno gave away the beans here, we're going to talk about Like Father, Like Son. This movie was from when, Bruno? You got it up there?
I do not.
You don't?
I'm thinking 88, 89.
It was the last one was from, 88, right?
How do you guys not know this by now?
You know what?
I thought it was locked up.
Shit happens.
I think
Absolutely
We're going
amateur
back a
move.
year.
Amateur
Okay,
move.
it was
Going back
all
a
right.
year. So this one stars Dudley Moore and Kirk Cameron, for God's sakes.
Yeah, but this is Kirk Cameron before
This
he
is
turned
prior
into
crazy Kirk Cameron, yeah.
super religious.
Yeah, crazy
You know,
Kirk Cameron,
yeah.
Before he went there, yeah.
Yeah, before he went there.
Before he went there, and his sister went there, and they all took a little train.
They all went there.
They all took a goddamn train to Crazyville.
Yeah.
And it's not even a religious
This is-
commentary. It's just like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah,
You
he
cray-cray.
dove deep into it.
Yeah.
But that was good.
I have a struggle with that no matter
But
what.
you know what, though? I don't think that was too far before that because he was still doing growing pains.
Yeah.
When he turned, he was still doing growing pains and
He started down that
Yeah.
road. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
with him and what was the girl's? The character's name was Julie.
Yes.
That she was. So sidetrack to what we do. She was in Playboy when she got the part to be his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to have anything to do with her because of that. Because he was starting to go down his Christian road there.
The super religious road.
Yeah, like he was going down that road. He was like, I can't have this girl be my girlfriend, whatever, because she was on this.
Yep.
But then so they became like real couple, and she went down that path as well with him. So they were all fucking wild.
Yeah.
Damn.
Cuckoos.
It was a wild time. The wild time. So, anyway, back to Like Father, Like Son. So we're going through another brain swap, identity swap movie as
Using
we did.
the brain transfer and serum.
Serum,
Yes.
I love that every time they had to say the whole name.
The whole
Every time.
fucking
Every time.
name,
Just so you don't get confused on how it happened.
Yes.
Or that it's the serum.
Could just
No.
say the serum. Yeah, it's the serum.
No,
The serum.
because what kind of serum?
The cookie juice.
It's the brain
juice.
transferring
The cookie juice.
serum.
Brain
Is that the title for today's
Obviously.
You know what?
Who drank the cookie juice?
The cookie juice is a
cookie juice.
good name for it because the music was a little kooky when they were doing
Yes.
the transfer, wasn't
my
it?
God.
Yes,
It's
it
a little
was.
bit like.
it was.
I was
I
like,
love the whole soundtrack
What?
was so 80s.
Well, the soundtrack
Oh,
to this
the
was
80s
awesome.
rock was
such a fan.
amazing.
So that was one thing I wanted to hit on.
I mean, their clothing was very Miami Vice.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it was literally it was
With the
well,
untucked shirts, with the shirt underneath it.
it was
yeah.
the
The
late
crop
it was
tops.
it was the late
Light-colored
'80s in LA,
Yeah.
Sunset Strip.
huge impact from the LA side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
that was one of the things. Like I'm listening to the soundtrack, going, "Oh my God, there's so many good songs on
I'm
this."
almost surprised we didn't hear "Guide Me with a Spoon" on there.
Yeah.
Right, as a commentary.
That I was waiting on
That
that.
was a big one.
Yep.
But the
Yeah.
80s rock was so cool
Oh,
to like
yeah. Oh, my God.
flashback.
Well, so wait a minute, hold on. It wasn't just '80s rock; it was '80s glam band rock.
Yeah,
So
I
we got
mean, Is there any other kind of rock in the 80s?
I mean, I don't know. Scorpions weren't really glam band.
They were pretty glam.
They were glam, but they weren't like
They
they
weren't
were
like-
like Motley Crue,
They were,
Poison.
yeah, but those guys were big glam. Those
No, they were
bands?
huge glam. Yeah,
Yeah,
LA
yeah.
You're
Guns. I
talking
mean,
about the hair bands?
yeah, I mean, hair. It was all
Yeah.
hair bands. That was
yeah, but
Yeah.
Scorpions were hair. They
Well,
they
no,
weren't
no,
like
no.
makeup and hair,
right.
but they were
so
hair.
they were hair bands. They were
Yeah.
all hair bands.
Yeah.
But then there was like
Glammy,
like
yeah,
Motley
yeah,
Crue, Poison, LA Guns. Those were like the glam bands that
right.
had the makeup and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
See, now I wish I
literally
had
wore.
the
Okay, I hear you. I know what you mean.
Now I wish I had the soundtrack. So the movie is
good.
basically, again, it's another, we're transferring brains and identities and things like that. This one takes place, again, it's another father and son.
Yes.
Slightly different. Dudley Moore is a surgeon.
Can I just say it was
Basically-
really cool to see Dudley Moore? I haven't seen him in a movie in
So
years
long.
and
This
years.
is my first Dudley Moore movie.
I did a
He
little,
was hilarious.
Dudley Moore, deep dive before while
he
I
was
was
huge
watching
back
it.
in the day.
He was
So
huge.
He came up a long time ago in British, obviously, and he had a lot of he was actually very he's a classically trained pianist, and he graduated from music and things like that. But then he wanted to do acting, and his career had about 3 different waves. and kind of had a lot of lulls in it as well. So like obviously back in like the 70s, and then they tried to revive him with this movie. It didn't really work. He was big with Arthur.
Arthur was
Arthur
awesome. Arthur
really
Two Life on the
worked.
Rocks.
Probably his best or most famous work.
It's one of those things
Yeah?
that really
Yeah.
skyrocketed him
Writing that one
into
down.
stardom. But then Arthur 2 on the Rocks didn't quite work
It
as
didn't hit as
well.
hard, yeah.
And this one didn't either. And then he just had a hard time from there, kind of coming back. And when this one and Arthur 2 like didn't really hit the numbers they wanted, because he was like a big money draw back in like the late 70s.
He was a
early
big
80s.
name, real big. He was the marquee on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. He
Yep.
he tried. I was looking. He tried out for a role of a pretty famous. I had to look it up. It was a pretty famous role that like went to somebody else. That like really he tried out for that. I'll get to it in a second.
Why do that? When people say Dudley Moore to me, there's 4 movies really that stick to me. It's Arthur 2, Like Father, Like Son, and which I can never remember the name of the movie, but when we did the Christmas special, it reminded me it was Santa Claus the movie, because
So
he's the main elf in that.
That was like
Yeah, so
that
he's
was
the main
almost
elf, and those are the 4 movies that I always think of Dudley Moore.
That was kind of like
always.
the nail in the coffin of his career almost, because he wasn't even like the mains. He was like a side character. He was an elf.
Right.
You know, obviously the important elf that has a main part of the storyline, but it wasn't really like a Dudley Moore
But he wasn't like
feature.
main cast.
Right.
He's probably like
So
jumping
it's
in that
kinda,
going, hey, if I can't do like more adult stuff, maybe I can jump into like the kids movies.
Yeah.
And maybe
maybe.
that could kind of carry me a little bit, which I think that you see a lot of. I mean, you saw that with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy took a bad publicity hit, and he started
did.
doing the kids movies with the Dr. Doolittle's, Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
I had that on
So-
DVD.
There we go. So he went that route to try to get back into the limelight a little bit more because he had a bad publicity hit. So I feel that happens with a lot of actors. It's like, all right, well, adults don't take me serious anymore, or they're not coming out to, they're not the ones that are spending the money on me. So I know that adults are gonna have to take their kids to movies. Well, shit, let me do kids movies and.
Well, it's a
I'll get
natural
something.
progression, right? When you've flooded the market with movies, like you've got to. People are starting to get bored to see you. They see you in every single role. We've talked
Right.
about this before.
Yep.
How like
Yep.
the-
Like
with
Zendaya.
Oversaturation.
right?
Yep.
All the you suddenly become big, and then you get every role for the next 3 years.
Whether it's
good or
supposed to
not.
go to you or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like let's not do that. Let's pick the right people for these roles, and then we won't get burnt out. Your career will last longer. You know,
Yeah.
all of that would be a good thing.
Right.
Yes. So he died young. He died at 66.
Yeah, I saw
Oh,
that.
damn.
Yeah.
Birthday. Yeah, he had it's supranuclear palsy. I think it was. There's no treatment for it.
Oh.
So yeah, it was pretty bad. Wheelchair, couldn't really speak. It's a very
wow.
horrific thing.
Oh my god,
So,
I had
yeah.
no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for bringing me down.
Yeah, no problem. Just and that's
That's
the
how to
podcast,
start.
everybody.
That's how to start that off.
Merry Christmas. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, I very much remember Dudley Moore fondly, growing
Yeah.
up and watching him. Thought he was just hysterical.
It was nice to see him in
It
this.
was nice to see. It was so, like you said, it was good to go back and watch this. And I've seen this movie. Out of all 3 of the ones we've done, this is the one I've seen the most. I've watched this movie multiple times.
Let
It's
me
one of those
just
kinda
offer my condolences. I'm sorry.
No,
that you
it's
had to do
okay.
that.
I like I said, we will go through this, but I actually really enjoyed this one. Probably most of it's probably because of nostalgia. Like I said, I grew up kind of watching this one, so it was one of those movies when it was on. Like Father, Like Son, I'll watch this. I'm pretty sure I went to the movies with my mother, my brother. Like was one movie we went to see.
Yeah, it was
in
pretty
the
big. It
theaters.
was pretty big when it came out.
Yeah, it was 87. I think it's PG if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, no,
Probably.
PG-13. It's a PG-13 movie, oddly enough. Really?
That was the PG-13
This was
movie?
Right, with
PG-13,
less
but vice
swearing.
The other one
versa
was
was
PG?
PG.
Yeah, there was like no swearing in this at all, almost.
I mean,
right?
and there's no like nudity or anything like that. Like,
Oh no, there was so much swearing. I just realized they dropped
Was
like
there?
several F-bombs, shits, stuff
Really?
like that.
Could be right.
you're right.
Oh
Could be
yeah.
right.
No,
I was
you're
like,
absolutely
hey,
right. You're
wait a
right. You're
minute.
right. I forgot
There was-
about that.
I didn't
You're
even
right.
know. I was like watching it, and then I'm like, hey yo, wait a minute.
But they weren't making sexual commentary, crude
No,
remarks
it was
about the
For in a
secretary.
PG movie.
Yeah.
Something about
Somebody's mouth
someone's
being a hole.
mouth
let's
or
call it
something.
an-
I don't
yeah,
know.
let's-
Let's leave
Yeah,
that in the
Margaret
past.
Collin in there. You know what I mean?
Leave
You
that in
had
the
an
other one.
opportunity, but thank God they didn't.
Jeepers.
Yeah, no kidding. So anyway, so Margaret Collin, who plays the chief of staff's wife. I thought that was kind of a weird storyline. Like all of a sudden she's
That was an odd storyline.
kind of cheating on him, and kind of with Dudley.
Yeah.
She's
There was,
trying
that
to get with Dudley.
there was that tension between the two of them, and I'm like, okay.
But it was that
Once-
forced way of like, all right, now
No, but-
he, like the other movies, Kirk Cameron, quote unquote, has to, or Dudley Moore is now the kid, has to kiss her.
No, but
You know, it was awkwardness.
example one of bad writing. Why would she be so flirtatious in front of her husband with this
Yeah.
other guy?
Right?
Well,
Like,
idiot.
I
Like
quote,
what?
I
That
quote-
doesn't. Nobody would do that.
Yeah, I
Husband
have a
is
quote.
not an idiot. He's an asshole, but he's
He
not an
says,
idiot.
she said, why are you so shy? And he says, why are you always so married?
Yeah.
and he was there. And
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute.
So it's just bad writing.
So,
There was so much bad writing.
Right, but I think part of that was she was the young, hot arm candy for the old doctor, the old chief of staff doctor. So I'm guessing that wasn't his first wife. It was probably like his third wife. And she was like, you know what? I'm with this guy just for the money. He's with me just for the arm candy.
Every
We don't
day,
have like a
heart.
real.
Checking his heart every day.
Although that's
Yeah.
a lot of assuming
The
we have to be
neuron
doing,
says
you
every
know?
morning, she's still
She was like
damn it.
half his
Usually
age.
there's some sort of also dialogue around it, you know? But it was just like straight up, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
yeah, right there.
Right in front of.
He's right there.
Well, you know what? I
Right on the open.
I caught a lot of that in this movie. That like people doing things in front of their spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, like right in front of the other person, and nothing gets done.
Right.
For
Yeah.
instance,
No
the girl
impact.
kisses Kirk Cameron, and her boyfriend's standing right there, and I'm like, wait, what? How does that even happen?
Yeah, that was
Right?
weird.
And then he doesn't
Weird.
get like punched for it.
Yeah, he's not
Not
like
immediately.
No, well, granted, it takes like
Well, that was
three
after a
times
lot of
after.
times.
I mean, right out the gate when he pulls up and she's like, "Well, what does he have? What does he have that I don't have?" She's like, "Oh, he's got a Jag." And then she kisses him, and the guy's like, "Me, you kissed my girl.
Yeah.
Me, are you kidding me?" First of all, that guy in real life is 4 years older than Kirk Cameron.
I
'Cause
think
I had
his
to
real
look
life
it
is
up.
like in his 30s, for God's sake, so he's playing this high schooler. Like,
He's
come on. it's
20 fucking four.
typical
No.
80s.
Oh my
no,
God.
like,
I know
higher-
there are plenty of people who were that big in high school. Like I know some
That's
people like that.
that's
never-
fine.
Yeah, no, I've known, yeah.
But in comparison to, again, he was 24 in real life.
Yeah.
Kirk Cameron, which always had like a youngish boy look, he was
Yeah.
like 19 or 20 when that came in
I don't
that
remember any
movie.
kid in my high school, but maybe there were, as if there were.
You look at some of the guys on the football team on the line, or something. I mean,
Yeah,
those-
you're like, that's a
Poor
man
guys.
right there. What are you
Well,
talking about?
Yeah, but that dude, like, when I first saw him, I was like, all right, in all seriousness, not just in comparison to Kirk Cameron, but in comparison to a lot of the students around him,
Yeah.
I was like, dude, you should be a teacher.
He was a fully grown adult.
Like,
Yeah,
you're a grown ass man. You're just what?
I mean, so were the main actors. So were Kirk Cameron and Sean Astin at that point. They were nowhere. They were in high school at that point. But,
No, but they
they,
looked
the
could
part.
pull it off.
They looked the part.
They
Again,
definitely could pull it off.
Oh,
If
yeah,
you
yeah,
was-
definitely.
If you could pull it off with those two guys, right, and
Yeah.
actually have like high school students for the rest of the
yeah,
extras,
that
you
guy
mean
at
to tell me
24
that
shouldn't have been the guy
No.
they cast.
He wasn't
you
pulling
should have
anything
casted
off.
somebody else.
Somebody else,
Just-
yeah.
Cast
He
somebody
didn't
else.
look the part, right? He didn't look the
I
part.
don't know. It wasn't
He looked too
that
old.
out of place, though. It didn't.
I don't know.
Oh, it was pretty bad.
For-
I mean,
for
as
me,
the
he
He
muscle-headed
did look
jerk,
like
but
he had a full beard.
as
like
a muscle-headed jerk, like he played the role.
Yeah.
But he definitely looked like somebody who was in
Yeah.
high school.
Yeah, he
Either that, or he got kept back a lot.
A lot. Now, granted, when I was in high school, there was
Double the
actually
post.
there was a guy that was, I say guy, I was like a freshman. I was like, oh, is that a teacher? Is that one of the gym teachers? They're like, no, dude, I forget his name, but I remember
He's a lifer.
He was like
like, no.
he was a junior, and I'm like, that kid's a junior. They're like, well, he's got held back. I went, held back?
He's kind
You
of a
ain't
third-year
shit.
junior.
Like, this guy,
How many
like,
times?
it got to a point that I was like, maybe this dude should just not be in school. Just drop out, go get your GED, and go get a real job instead of being a junior.
Trade school might be in your future, just so you know.
Maybe,
Nothing
I mean,
against trade school. That's
No,
not,
there's nothing wrong with trade school. I
Not
know
at all.
lots
of
Yeah.
Make plenty of money that way.
Oh my God, yeah. But maybe the academic part of it's not
You
really
know,
where
you
you're
know what
at.
I, you know what I
It's okay.
thought was
Go make more money
weird.
than I'll
Like,
make.
Take the L.
all these 80s movies, everybody just kind of puts up with the fact that the guy's just like, stop talking to my girl. The girl's like super materialistic, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden she's just like, I don't even care
Yeah.
about anything other than you've got a Jag. Like, you're 16.
I do like the fact
You
that
don't
you're
love me
supposed
more
to
than
be-
your grandma.
You're supposed
He
to be like
does.
16 or 17. Like, why are you already like, oh, he's got a Jag? Why wouldn't it be like, oh, he's muscular or something, like something a little bit more, something that like I don't know. I'm what I'm trying to say is I don't know any 15, 16-year-old girls that are like, that guy's got a lot of money, and so I'm going to put my eggs in that basket. You know what I mean? Like,
Maybe it's different.
I forgot
in
for LA.
Don't get me wrong.
Maybe it's LA.
It's
I
been
don't
a
know.
long
This
time
was
since
LA.
I've spoken to a
LA.
15-year-old.
I hope so.
But yeah,
It's LA in
but
the
what I'm trying to
80s.
say is it just felt very like,
cut that.
I don't know,
We don't have any evidence.
Yeah.
the motivation there felt weird. You know
Well,
what I mean?
I see where you're coming from, but again, it's LA.
Like I would have
LA.
preferred,
Yeah.
but I would have
What
preferred
fellas
if
does
they had
who
made her
know?
be like, oh, he's super cute, like something that like I feel like
No, because in all the
younger-
movies it was like that, though. In all the movies it was all about
Which one?
16 Candles. It was about the cute boy, Jake, cute guy with the hot Ferrari at the
Yeah,
the
but
red
she didn't
car.
mention in this movie he was cute. He just like, oh, he's got a Jaguar.
No, I know, but I'm just saying though that was like I feel
was
like
weird,
a
by the way.
lot of the movies super weird. Why why is a 6-year-old?
Yeah, but all those movies, I feel like they always say part of it is that he's cute and he's got the blah blah blah.
So
You
here's
know-
what disturbed me with that: like you're trying to pretend you are still like the father, and yet you're driving the Jeep. You're trying to pretend you are the son.
Okay,
before
that's
you're
my
driving
issue.
driving the Jag.
That's my issue with
Right.
a lot of these movies is where like the kid never seems to curb their ability to be a
Right.
kid, right? No
Right,
kid.
yeah.
If I was 15 and suddenly got shot into my parents, I wouldn't be like, yeah, I'm gonna go ride my bike to school. I'm gonna be like, well, fuck, I gotta figure out how to drive a car, and I'm not gonna drive my shitty ass Jeep. I'm gonna drive my dad's regular car.
more so in this
everybody knows
movie.
or thinks I'm my dad. You
Yeah,
know?
but and more so
Yeah.
in this movie because he's older. Like in vice versa, he's
Yeah.
11. So that cognitive ability to go, okay, I have to do this. I have
Right.
to
Yeah, yeah.
That's what they were
Yeah,
doing.
that's-
But a
that's
high schooler
fair.
Yeah, yeah.
should definitely been able to figure that shit
Definitely,
out.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel with this, especially because of the age that they were.
And plus the fact that you're not doing it alone. Your father
Yeah.
might be, in your body, but he's still there.
Yeah.
And he still
Yeah.
has his ability to say, you need to do this.
Yeah.
Yes.
You need to do better.
Well,
than
they
you
never-
to be
they
me,
never do.
Which
Well-
means
Yeah.
don't drive my fucking...
Well, here's the thing. He tried to do it. Remember, he wrote the notice like, listen, at 9 sharp, make sure you call the office and this is what you say. That being it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why
You
at 9
waited till
sharp?
like
Just
9
call now.
Just call him out.
Just call now. Leave a
That-
message.
That was
Yeah.
definitely
Right?
part
Why
of it.
9 sharp? Why did
Because maybe that's what
to
time-
call out.
Because
Well,
then
maybe
if he
that's
didn't
when
make
the
9
second
sharp, he
showing-
couldn't have been late.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That kind of bothered me, and I'm
It
like,
was kind of dumb.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
like he oversleeps, and
It's just more of like his controlling personality. You
But
know, like,
and
Yeah.
again,
No, but that makes
Super
sense. He's the
like-
dad. He's a very successful doctor. He's up for like the head. Like I
Chief of
get,
staff.
So
I
he's,
understand.
orchestrating
that-
it exactly the way he needs it to be
Yeah,
orchestrated.
but that
so-
to me made sense. It fit
Yeah.
with his role. You knew so the writing in that little piece was good. Like you knew who he was. You knew where his motivation was. You knew he was a controlling guy. He set it off from the very beginning.
Yep.
They did
Yeah.
a good job there.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
just
they-
thought
they developed a lot more.
better
I
in
thought
this
the
movie,
way they
set
had-
up the people who they were a lot
Much better.
Yeah.
than the last movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the problem that, like you were saying, Marco, is that the kid never seems to understand. I should curb my immature behavior,
Yep.
or I should do my best to figure out how not to be perceived as a kid
Right.
when I'm in the adult body.
Yeah.
right. Like
And-
they don't.
yeah.
Like when the kid.
But
When
the-
Kirk Cameron was
but
in
that's
that.
the joke, right? Like that's the joke in the movie because the adult does the same thing, right? Your Kirk Cameron
No.
is
But you could
Dudley
at least-
Moore
But it's-
is going in his son's body and
All of a sudden, he's
That's what
he's
makes
smart.
all these movies the
Yeah, but
exact
most of the
same,
way
though.
chief of staff surgeon.
Most of the
essentially.
way through the movie, after Kirk Cameron had already fucked up a bunch of shit for his dad, he then ends up in the meeting with the CEO and the other executives. And halfway through the meeting, he just kind of gets up, walks out, and is like, "Well, I'm out of here. Are we done?" No.
That's not how that shit
that's
works.
not how that
right?
shit
I do the
works.
same thing. I'm watching going.
Do you see
shut
anybody
up,
else?
You shut up
If I
and you
were
don't move until
a
everyone else
15-year-old
starts moving.
kid and I was in my dad's executive body and I was in that meeting, I would just sit down and wait till everybody's like, we're done, and then you get up and leave so that nobody realizes you're not your dad.
Right, I'm
You
probably
don't
gonna be
get
sweating
up.
bullets, but yeah.
You don't get up, walk out, and be like, we're done here, right?
because you don't even do that in school.
Right.
You have a class. You don't get to go like the teacher stops talking. You're like, well, I guess we're done, right? The class is over. I can just leave now.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't work that way. The bell rings. You leave.
It's just, I mean, that's bad writing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's kind of stupid.
So part of that,
I mean,
right?
it's to make the joke. I get it. It's
Yeah.
to force the joke,
But
if you will.
still.
I'm not even gonna say to make the joke. It's to force the joke. Is
Yeah.
really what's happening.
So at least in this one, when the father gets into the Kirk Cameron part, he's like, listen, I'm going to go to school. Don't worry about it. You keep your ass inside. Don't leave.
He made the
Yes.
right choice.
That's
man.
the
made the right
one
choice.
person that
And
made
he
the
was
right
finally
choice.
reasonable.
And then he was finally
In
like,
any of these.
all right, fine. I'm going to stay in. I was like, thank God.
Yeah.
The reason why he ends up back at the hospital is because his boss walks in the door.
and fucking who does that?
So my question, I
Yeah.
know what this
Yeah, he
like,
walks into his house.
You
Right?
call out sick on Monday. I'm coming to your house. I'm
And I
still
go,
walking in front of your
"Why?"
house going,
So-
what are you doing? Why
I'm
aren't
like
you
on the
at work?
couch and I'm like, what are you?
I'm looking
She's
at
under
this.
Why?
guitar
yeah.
on the couch. Like,
I'm like
just work.
boogieing on the table, like
I'm looking at this going, what, you don't lock your fucking door?
Yeah.
And not for
It
nothing.
seemed kind of open.
Fair enough, but we're all adults. Again, I call out, my boss is walking into my
My
house.
God,
he didn't even
Showing
knock.
up.
He didn't even knock.
No,
Ring a
that's what I'm saying, like, he
doorbell.
just walked
He just
in.
busted in.
Yeah.
That shit bothered
see
me.
you
I'm like,
at work.
He's like, so what? You're feeling better, so I'll see you at work in about an hour?
Yeah.
An hour.
That was another thing. If I was a boss and
If that
I
was
walked
the CEO,
in,
that wouldn't have gone like that
I would have
either.
gone like that.
Yeah.
So, like, if I'm walking in and I see my employee, my future chief of staff, acting the way he is, you know what? Keep your ass home. There's something going on. I don't need
Yeah.
to see you. You know what? Take the weekend. I don't want to see you back
Yeah,
at the
all
hospital.
is not as it should be right here.
Right. I'm not saying, wow,
Some
you look
screws
fucked
might
up.
be a
I'll see you
little
at work in an
loose.
hour. No.
You're looking
Oh,
kind
really?
of sick.
He goes, this seems reasonable.
You're looking kind of sick. Why don't you stay home?
I mean, serious, like that. This one had, I feel like, a lot of plot holes. But what they did, though, I felt they did it purposefully to kind of like move shit along. Like, we needed to get him in the hospital. Okay, how do we get him back to work when he's not supposed to? I don't know. Let's fucking have the boss walk in. All right, that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little off. but
They
wasn't-
tried. They
wasn't
sort
a
of
major-
tried with the writing. They sort of tried.
They definitely
They were
tried.
got a little too creative with the idea of how that would happen, but you know,
It wasn't. It wasn't.
They tried to have
yeah.
transitions.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would only ever walk into someone's house without introducing my family. Like
Yeah.
when we go to Nunda's house and we
Yeah,
just walk
I
in.
go to my mother-in-law's
Yeah.
house.
You can walk into family.
Yeah.
You knock, but you open the door and you walk in. You know
You're
what
like,
I mean?
hey.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
dropping Christian off at my
Right.
mother-in-law's
you
house. I just walk in.
You can walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would never. Can't even
My parents'
imagine
house,
to
I
an
ring the bell and
employee.
Yeah, like, I'm not, no. How about
my parents
no?
also-
But we don't know each other like that. You're not.
No.
You're not welcome here.
Like, we're cool from the hours of like 7 to 3, 8 hours, maybe 8.5, because I did a half hour overtime. We're cool at work. Don't walk in my house like that.
That's right.
Your wife wants
Yeah.
to bang me that's no, stay home.
Hey, you never know. I could be in here with
Get away
her.
from my house.
You gotta be in here with her. You don't want to see that shit.
So,
How about when the wife did come over? And then
God.
I'm sorry, but the piano burning in the pool was amazing.
No, the couch.
no, the couch.
The couch.
That was
The
fantastic.
couch was amazing.
But he put the couch
somebody-
out and just magically got caught back on fire.
I mean, great.
Everything that could
and then
go
he
on
dragged
went
his
wrong,
shit. He
and that
pushed
was
it out into the
fantastic.
pool, and I was like, this is awesome.
Through the fucking door.
Oh my God.
smashes through
Busted
the
through the
door.
doors.
Yeah. So
So that's
It started
if my
with, "Here,
son
let me
was
get you a
dumb
beer.
enough to do
Everything's on
that,
fire."
I'd be like, I don't know what to do with you.
yeah, like that.
Where
whole
did
thing,
I go wrong?
He's just
that-
sitting in the shower.
It's like Chevy Chase letting the squirrel out of the
I'm
house.
done.
Gone.
That whole
Give
scene
up.
actually kind of made me laugh. Like without the obvious, how did you not freak out when you opened the door and she was there? Because again, he sees her at the bar.
Right.
He doesn't know that she knows his father. He just thinks that, oh, here's this really hot woman that wants to come talk to me. All of a sudden, she shows up at your door. She knows your name. No one wants to go, how did you know where I live?
Do you think maybe he knew her from the hospital if he ever
I
visited?
would assume that's what I assumed
don't-
was
Could
that
we-
maybe
could we
he'd seen her
reaching?
before.
The only
We have
reason
no
I thought
evidence of that?
I thought of that, but at the same time,
I think it's definitely a plot hole.
If Kirk
Yeah.
Cameron
Yeah,
knew who she
definitely.
was, he would
Add
be
that
like,
to the
"Oh
list.
shit, I can't talk to her."
Yeah.
You know,
It's the
like
boss's
he was
wife.
like, "That's the boss's wife." Like I know who she is,
Yeah.
and she knows.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's like when she
yep.
shows up at the house, he's just like, "Oh, hey." She's like, "Well, you said it." Anytime he's like, "Yeah, sure, come on in." I'm like, "Dude,
Let me get you a couple of beers.
like,
Yeah.
Right.
The Budweiser and chips.
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
And that was legit.
Great.
But back it up. He's supposed to be what, 15?
Yeah.
What 15-year-old guy wouldn't be like,
Oh,
this
no.
woman's throwing herself at me? Let's do this.
No, I absolutely understand
He was like, I don't know
yeah.
what to do. I don't know what to do. Like,
So-
no. You know.
figure it out.
You know what to do.
Come
So I
on.
want to say that the acting in this, I
It's
feel was
Dudley Moore.
better.
Yeah.
It was
better.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
was definitely a bit on both ends, on Kirk Cameron's part
Yeah.
and on Dudley Moore's. I feel
Kirk
like
Cameron's older. He's had more seasoning as an actor.
Right.
And Dudley Moore's Dudley Moore.
Dudley Moore's a good actor.
So the
Actor
acting,
shit
Right.
around
acting
Judge
of this
Reinhold
was
any day.
definitely better. But like they played in, and from what you were saying before, an adult acting like a kid is a lot harder than the kid acting like an adult. And this, it's a teenager.
He's a teenager,
so it's a
wasn't too
little
bad.
bit, and Dudley Moore is kind of at times could be like that anyway.
I mean, his Arthur character was
His Arthur
very
character was a
mature,
great, was
you
a
know what I
drunk.
mean?
He was a drunk the whole movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of immature anyway. Like, he's
right.
already
So
kind of halfway
I
there.
think that played really, really well, and there was a lot
It
of
did.
funny points that made me laugh. Again, anytime Dudley Moore was on screen, I laughed my ass off.
I think of them three trading brain movies we saw, this one has the best change from adult to kid to adult. Like both of them seem pretty, not convincing, but
pretty
like
together.
Seem pretty much like you would almost expect. With the caveat that the young kid in the adult body doesn't seem to understand that he should curb his immature
Once again,
ways, right? But with that aside, I think both of them were convincing. Like I felt like I was watching.
They had some good moments. You know,
I didn't feel like I was
felt
watching the
solid.
adult. Yeah, I didn't feel like I was watching the adult. I felt like I was watching Kirk Cameron kind of trying to in Dudley Moore's body, trying to figure out what to do. With this grown woman who's thrown herself at him.
And also when the adults switched into the kid's body, it was almost like a completely different character. It was like pretty. It was like rigid.
It was pretty good.
But it like vice versa was like all of a sudden he's like fuck
He's
this,
very
fuck that,
different.
Super different,
His adult
right?
personality in the kid body
It
is very
felt
different
much
than
more
his
like
adult body.
that seems like same type of guy.
Yeah.
But again, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it's not an 11-year-old and a grown parent. It's a parent with
It's
a
a smaller-
teenager. It's
smaller
a small
delta
age
between them,
age gap. So it's like, all right, you could kind of. I mean,
Plus, there's
obviously,
the
They have
acting
more
portion
mental
of it.
faculties
There's the
going
acting
on.
portion of it of more of a study of like, all right, how would an adult act?
yeah.
And Kirk Cameron obviously having more
And it was
experience.
adult
Right.
to young adult as opposed to adult to child.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
So I think that's
Yeah, because he
easier.
was
I think that's easier.
12th grade too, so it was like
Oh,
yeah, I mean, he
so
was
it's like
either a
sort of
senior or junior.
17, right?
Yeah,
He
so
was
he's
12th grade?
yeah,
I think
12th
so. So
grade.
he's-
Yeah, because he was applying
So
for
he
college.
was
I
like
took notes.
17
I
or
took
18.
notes because I
Yeah,
was
this
like,
is
oh,
young.
12th grade. Oh, he's actually like an
So you
adult
mean to
almost.
tell me that a 17 or 18-year-old kid wouldn't understand how to act if that grown woman?
He'd be able to pull it together.
Yeah, you'd.
Oh,
And in the boardroom too, he'd be able to pull it together.
Yeah, you wouldn't act quite like that.
You'd know.
Yeah.
You'd know what was going on.
Yeah, you know what?
You had a feel.
You wouldn't blast the rock and
but
grab
I have
the beer.
a feeling though that no, because we see it at the beginning of the movie when they're walking through the school. Like I was saying Michael J. Fox, Kirk Cameron, and Sean Astin when they're walking. He's like, oh my god, dude, there she is, and he's like, just go talk to her. He's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. So he already gave us the idea that
The kid doesn't know how to
he
handle that.
doesn't know how to
Yeah.
act with
He's
a
not
girl
that smooth with the
own,
ladies.
with a girl his own age, let alone a voluptuous
But
woman.
I would say that he's nervous because he doesn't know, like, who you've asked in high school, right? There was no freaking Facebook. There was no texting. You had to go up and face to face.
Yeah.
Like how, I like you because you want to go on a date kind of thing, right? Like, so
Fumbling
like
like a moron.
So that approach means that you are going to be right in front of that person and potentially get shot down, right?
Yes.
And so
You're
you
having a much better
have
time,
that
you
nervous, like, oh my god, I don't want to do that, but how do I do it? How do I go up there and look cool and be kind of cool and make them be like me and ask them to go out and then have them say yes? Whereas, like, in the parent situation, when the woman walks in, is clearly interested and is already right there, you've already broken that barrier. You're almost intimate, right? You're right there. She wants to kiss you. She's trying to, get you, alone. Like you're past like talking.
right. But
You're-
I mean,
you're not even.
But
there's
that-
no question.
Right, but
you can.
but what we see though is his kind of
He's nervous.
he's
never
wicked nervous,
been-
and he's never. I mean, again, we're talking about he's still a high school kid, right?
I know, but
And
would,
so because
would
he
a
was so nervous
17 or 18-year-old like blast the rock and roll? Like that seems like a 13-year-old thing.
But
to
he
do.
doesn't know what
Yeah.
to do though, because all he's been around is like girls his own age. He doesn't know how to. This
Yeah,
woman is supposed to
I'll buy
be,
that.
in her 20s, let's say.
Yeah,
right?
but like
he's like,
it was like volume 10.
listen. Well, he just
Right.
had enough because his father was somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
But he did like hardly. He didn't turn it down though until she was like, "It's a bit loud." And he's like, "What? It's
Shuts it down, he
loud."
goes to leave.
My advanced hearing loss.
He goes, she's like, well, it's a little break. He's like, yeah, it's a little break, it's a little break. Comes back, Thursday goes, we want something to drink. Yeah, I gotta get something to drink. Okay.
The beer was great though.
The
I really
beer
liked
just
that.
Yeah.
cracks me
That
up.
was legit. That
But
was
again,
legit.
that was
why-
real.
And then again, as a 17-year-old, he's like, oh, I gotta try to like romance this woman. So he goes to light the candle, and I'm like,
That was funny. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
I mean, again,
I can forgive some of those oversights.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
think like we talked about just before we started was like the biggest one is that when the transference first happened, all they had to do is just like drink a little bit more of the liquid that
Shouldn't
that
it make you
dad
go back
had
the
and
other
just
way?
switch it back.
And they don't
right?
explain why it doesn't. They explain that, like, he finally figures out there's this root out in the desert that they can make another potion that you can drink and then eventually it wears off.
No, it was the same potion. It was the same stuff.
Was it?
Yeah, that was the
Because they
same
never
stuff.
really said that. They
the
just
dad-
said
said it was
there's
the
an
same-
antidote.
No, the uncle said
different
they
root.
called it an antidote, but the uncle
Yeah.
said
Which we made us
this
something
is how
different.
it's made. I don't remember. Maybe I wasn't paying.
Yeah, it was some
Yeah, he
sort of
did
root
say
they
it
had
was
to
an
find.
antidote.
It's an
All right.
antidote, so it's not the same potion.
Okay.
Why not? They never explain why not. If it makes you switch brains once, why can't it just make you switch back?
Switch back. But here's the thing, though. They lay that, so it's like, okay, fine, maybe it doesn't. You have to come up with an antidote. But then we see oh no, because at the end of the movie, it's the same way. It's the initial transference. Because so all right, actually,
It just takes time. It just happens randomly
But
later
no.
on. Like they
So
look at
he
each
says
other. and
sometimes
nothing
it
happens.
takes a while.
At the beginning,
Yeah.
so wait, at the beginning of the movie, when the uncle got hurt and it first happened to him, when it's about time to switch back, you see the doctor that was working on him. You see him making a new potion.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But you don't know if they have to make more of the same or for something
right.
new.
But I mean,
Yeah.
reading
Yeah,
between the lines.
There was
And
a lot
that's
of not
fine.
much information going on there.
yeah, they just
Yeah.
kind of skimmed over that.
It's
They were
just
like,
the
we're
brain
gonna-
transference serum, and that's that.
And that's
Okay,
the way
and
it
the
is. It's the
It's a
antidote,
one-way
Yeah.
brain transference.
That is the way
and
this
it doesn't
is.
let you do it
Maybe
the
that's
other
what it
way.
and deal with it.
Like-
how do you define one way when you're just talking about two people?
That's my point. That's
Yeah.
what, like in the other movies, with the skull, they touch the skull again. They do the exact same thing, and it switches them back.
Yeah.
And we'll get to Freaky Friday. That's different altogether.
Yeah.
Which is, as much as I wasn't a huge fan of that movie,
It makes more sense.
it made the most sense
Yeah.
to me.
It did
Do you know
too,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
movie,
yeah.
it does. This one, it makes the least sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The skull thing makes sense. You hit the skull, you touch the skull, everybody touches the skull
skull,
again.
touch skull.
We're good. We're good. It happens.
one
You
is-
say, I
you drink-
wish, and it's good. You go back.
Well, no, one potion makes him grow, the other potion makes him small.
I guess.
Eat this
I'm
cake.
taking the fucking blue pill here because this is ridiculous.
I mean-
you can't just drink the potion again and switch back
That was-
with no explanation. That's what bothers me the most. It's the no explanation.
Yeah.
You tell me there's an antidote. Well, then this wasn't really a disease. It's just something you needed to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah, they shouldn't have used
The
antidote.
uncle just goes, "Trust me on this.
They
I know what I'm
shouldn't have
doing."
used an
And you
antidote.
go, "Okay."
Okay.
Was it because you read it in the script, but you're not telling anybody?
Yeah,
Like,
but
what am
here's
I
the
supposed
thing,
to
though.
trust?
Not for nothing, but so like I'm watching the movie, and that's the very first thing I write in my notes is to try it again. If
Just,
that was like
just
in real
drink
life,
a little more of what you just drank.
Wait, they didn't even try that.
They didn't even try that. That was my thing. I'm like,
Right.
It wasn't
why
like the
not just
uncle
at
was
least just
there and said, no,
try
that's
it?
not going to work.
And it
I
wouldn't
would've
have
tried
taken
it
that
again.
long.
You know-
either.
you know what-
Just
you know what you
chug
could have
it,
done to
look
get
at each
around
other
that?
and go,
Take
"Well,
another
that
sip.
didn't work."
As a writer, just have him like knock the cup off the table or something, and it smashes
And it
on the
smashes, so
ground.
that's
Still more in
And
the
there you go.
vial.
But
that's
Then,
no, but
then
no.
show him dumping the whole violin,
But here's the
and
thing,
then
though.
knocking the thing.
I
Now
don't-
you're ready. Now you're done. You've eliminated the fact you cannot go back because there's no more to
Right,
drink because
that's
it's on the ground.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
The plot hole
So that
provides
would have
there was
been
more.
like a closing of that loop, right?
So with that being said, I thought the same
But then you
thing
wouldn't have had the wonderful little twist ending
at the end. So
What's the twist?
with
in it?
the older
Oh,
guy
with the
and
other people.
and
So-
the jerk.
No. The older guy and the jerk was from because then the second time they did it, they had more potion. That wasn't. Oh, it
No,
wasn't the
there
same
was still
potion.
some left.
Still in the
The same
bottle.
There was
potion
still
as
some
Vasco
left.
bottles.
Oh, yeah,
So
what
that's
the
why
fuck?
he
Yeah,
didn't
it's
pour it
amazing.
all.
Yeah,
gonna
you're
say
right.
that.
You're right.
Right.
So
You're right.
when I first watched it, I'm like, okay, why not check? I wrote in my notes, check the bottle to see if there's any more left. That's literally what I wrote.
Plenty
so
more left.
They do the thing. So after they didn't check the bottle, I'm like, oh, well, maybe he used all of it. Maybe there wasn't that much left in the bottle. So that got taken out of my brain until the very end when he pulls it out of his fucking pocket. I went, wait a minute. So you had this the whole time? Why didn't you check it back at the beginning when this all happened?
And the whole thing
I thought
also
they just ran out of
don't
it.
forget the whole movie stems. The whole problem stems with the fact that they give it to the cat.
Yeah.
The cat and the dog fucking run off. The
I
house
like that they
cleaning
had
lady
the
comes
cat
in.
barking because
Yes.
actually
And then
cats and dogs have like very similar larynx and diaphragms. The cats could. It wouldn't be able to bark and sound like a legit dog, but they can
They
make
just gonna
barking
push the
noises.
same amount of air
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
big dog could have.
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
sound like it was pushing it. This is not possible physically.
No, it was terrible. The cat was like, woof,
Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounded like a
yeah.
Although it was
massively
funny that the
big
cat
dog.
was chasing the dog, and you go, "Oh,
And I loved it.
I
That was
get
fine.
it," because
but
they
the problem
switched.
was they run away and leave the fucking bottle on the floor. Like, wouldn't you take that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was on the
He
I was,
just
yeah,
wouldn't
in
have
that
it there.
moment, I was
Liquid
like,
gold,
wait a
wouldn't
minute.
it? You'd be like, I'm never gonna let go of this
Where the
thing.
fuck did you go? Take it with you, because then the house cleaner grabs it and puts it away.
Right?
puts
I
it
was like,
away.
this
And
stuff
she doesn't
seems kind
realize
of important to keep an
this
eye on.
clear. Sorry, we know what this liquid looks like. It's very viscous and white. Okay,
Doesn't look anything
it
like
doesn't look like
Tabasco.
Tabasco sauce
No.
at all.
Yeah, she absolutely was
It's
like, I don't care.
That's a weird Tabasco. Fucking put it in there. That's it. Done.
I don't know what these kids
Why
are
didn't
into
he
these
take it?
days.
It also looks
Yeah.
empty. you could just throw it away.
I mean,
I mean, if I picked up that bottle, I'd be like, oh, there's nothing left in this. Toss it away.
Right? If you've already got a full bottle, what are you going to even do with that? Like, what are you even going to do with that? Just throw it away.
And then when he's making his Bloody
And it's
Mary,
on the
he grabs
ground.
it, he
my
looks
wife
at
would
it.
kill you if you tried that.
I would've been like,
He
Well,
looks at it and goes, that's not Tabasco sauce. Pour it on anyway.
Did, though. Like, it's one of those, like, you have the trope of, like, he's just grabbing
was just
it.
casually,
Talking. He's talking to his son while he's doing so. He's not really paying attention. Like, this, I know what the Tabasco is. I'm just going to put it in, and then I put it back, and I don't even have to look at what I'm doing.
So I think
I've done it a million times.
I think that's some of the biggest problem with some of these movies is the tropes. Like, some of these tropes, it's been done so many times, and it almost gets...
But this is 87.
Fair enough.
Although, but do they have to do it every time?
it's like,
now that
all right.
time passes and we know better?
Well, and then you get Freaky Friday, which we'll
Well,
talk about
again, you
next.
got to make the characters make mistakes, otherwise there's no story.
There's no
Yeah.
story.
Right?
I
As a
know.
watcher, right, you knew the minute she
it's
put
the
it in the cupboard,
same.
you know
Oh,
exactly
yeah,
how
you're
this
like,
is going to
this is getting
unwind.
fucked up.
And so,
Like,
like,
she puts it
now
right next to the other Tabasco thing that you know
now
is
you're
gonna make
along
it a
for the
drink.
ride.
Like, all right.
Now you're along for the ride, and
Yeah.
you try to absorb and enjoy. But like again, this movie had the same tropes. The child gets access to the credit cards. The child
And he goes off.
he dresses his dad funky, and he changes it. All of a sudden, he's super cool. He's driving a Jeep. You know, there's an awkward kiss with the woman that came in. There's there's always a big important meeting, and like it's all the same exact tropes.
Yeah.
So
So I had a hard time with like I said, with them just leaving it there and running off
Yeah.
versus like, Kirk
Yeah,
Cameron,
they definitely
he
should
grabbed
not.
it real quick and stuck it in his pocket, and then the maid comes through and like cleans out his jacket. She's like, I'm throwing it in the laundry.
That
She
would've been
finds the
better.
fucking thing. Oh, what
That
the
would've
fuck?
been
Why is this in
better.
his pocket,
Yeah.
idiot? I put it away.
and-
Marco,
Right?
now you're talking about good writing, and I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I
There was
know.
no-
Yeah.
She
there
was
was
not.
Oh.
It looks like
Now talk about-
I'm rubbing
I
off a little
wanna
bit.
Talk about off
I want to have the
topic.
make bad choices because you have to get to the story, but make it fucking something realistic. Like,
Make it
all right,
realistically bad.
just leave
Yeah,
it there.
realistically bad, I can handle.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
stupidly bad. Like
If
that
it
was
had been
fucking
an
dumb.
accident,
Before.
he put it like you said.
Look
That's
at
a good
Goonies,
one,
right? The gems are in the pocket, and the maid's like going through his shit, and that's
Yeah.
when she finds
No
the
fundament,
jewels.
no
pediment,
fundament,
no pediment,
no pen, no sign,
no sign.
no sign.
no sign. And they get the jewels, right?
get
So
the
like
jewels.
that made sense.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So speaking of like the realisticness of it, like, so I will say that the swap,
Which had Sean Astin in it as well. So
which is
he did it that time. He didn't fucking learn.
Yeah,
Right?
He's older. He's not doing it again.
What I will say about this one is the switch, right, was a little bit more realistic, like the way that they acted,
Yeah.
right? It was a little bit more believable, a little bit more realistic, except for the fact that this old guy is hanging out with this teenager, and they're driving around and hanging out, and nobody thinks it's weird when they show up at this clearly adult bar where people go to pick people up. And there's this teenager. He's like, I'll take your best champagne. She's like, no, you won't. Ha ha. And he's like, all right, I'm just going to cruise the bar. Dude, you're not even getting let in, first of all, because clearly it's a 21 plus place. But again, nobody finds it odd that this old ass guy is hanging around with this teenager. I don't know about y'all, but if I saw that, something's
I mean, it
happening.
could
there.
have been.
I don't want to judge. I don't want to judge.
don't wanna judge.
Something's happening there. Maybe we should
Never.
check that.
Never touch the inner
Never touch the inner anything.
anything. Yeah,
We've discussed this.
we know this.
Which
The
I
80s, things were a little bit more free.
I mean, sure, why not? But again, it was just like,
But I mean, it could have been his son, right? Objectively, you could look at the guy and
Oh,
like,
yeah,
the kid and be like,
absolutely.
oh, he's probably father's son. And his dad wants to bring
his
him.
actual son was the
His
same age.
dad wants to bring him to a bar or whatever, and you let him in. I don't know. I don't think you should have been let in. But
Right.
like, plus like. He was like dancing on the tables. What bar, even for adult bar, like regular bar,
So,
would
like,
you be
get
like,
the hell
yeah,
out
it's
of
okay to be
here.
dancing on the
Pull your
tables.
shit
Well,
down, throw you out.
well,
I'm not talking
well-
nightclubs. I'm talking like regular bars.
well, that was like a bar slash, again, I mean, who knows what kind of
was a
environment
little
that was.
weird.
But here's
LA.
the thing, though.
It's LA.
The guy
You never
walked-
know.
We
That's-
blame a
that's
lot of
the-
this on the fact that it's LA.
But the guy walks in,
There goes
drops
our
his
LA
plastic,
listeners.
was like, yo, everything's on me. Let me tell you something. I've been in bars and clubs, and when somebody drops something like that, and it's like, everything's on me, they're gonna let that motherfucker do whatever. Oh, you want to dance on a table? You just drop your plastic and you're buying everybody. You're paying the bills for the next month. Yeah, do whatever you want. You want to swing from the rafters? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. You've got his plastic, and he's saying it's open season on my car.
I don't even want to try to imagine your life, Larry. But
No, no,
it still sounds a little bit. It still sounds a little bit unlikely. looking at the movie. Is all I'm saying.
I don't know. The guy
I
was
mean,
dropping his.
for you in that situation, I buy it.
When I was a bartender, when I did that, there were definitely nights
Yeah.
that people would come in and they're like, you know, and people like, yeah, let's not pay attention to what that guy's doing over there because, well,
He's paying for everything.
He's paying for everything. Like,
Yeah.
all right, like I've seen the private parties.
I
and
get
stuff.
that, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit outlandish, if you will.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's also
that
not
hard.
too bad. It's part of the movie. I hear you, man.
It's not that hard. So, I mean, I had more of a thing. A more qualm of this again. This old guy driving around with this high school kid, and that's just fucking creepy. It's just wicked. It's L.A. after hours. Why is this old guy with this teenage kid? That's fucking.
Well, I mean, I think
And
Bruce
from the
Willis
outsiders,
is
from the outsider's view on there, like
Could've
if you're
been
on the
his son.
street watching them, you go like, "Oh, that must be his son or something. That's weird." And then in a bar, yeah, that's weird.
I mean, so that's the thing. It's like just.
but
the
like
whole-
driving
Driving on
around,
streets
getting
is one
close
thing.
and stuff, I'm like, it's not that weird. They're just very.
I mean, so no, wait a minute. You know, they cruise in the street, and Sean Astin's hanging out the car. They pull up to the car full of girls, and he's like, "Yeah, what's up?" I don't know any girls that be like, "Oh, hey, what's good with you?" Like, what the fuck's wrong with you people?
Kid and your dad.
Kid and your
Kid and
dad,
your old
fuck
dad.
off.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
You're not cool because you're hanging out with your dad, and dad, you have other issues because you're hanging out with your kid. It's like midnight. What's going on here?
I don't know.
The fact that
Not,
he stole him out of his house. He's like, "Can I talk to your son?"
Yeah, that was another
Yeah.
thing too. I'm
that
like-
was weird.
He's
That was
climbing
weird.
the tree and then I'll see you in the.
And the parents are like,
Unlikely, right?
hey.
Hanging out, looking in the parents' window, and they're like, "Hey,
And they didn't call the
how's
police.
it going? Yeah,
Yeah.
why are you hanging outside our window?" He said, "I'm looking
That
for
just
my
happens
Our
dad."
son,
sometimes. He just does
looking
that.
for our son at this time of night.
Like,
Yeah.
why? What
Yeah.
the fuck?
If my neighbor happens to do that and swings down, is in my window when me and my wife are just watching TV, I'll be
Even when
like,
like Luke is like 19,
"I'm sorry,
18.
kid. I'm gonna call. I'm gonna call the cops. I'm sorry."
Call the cops on you. You
did you
fucking
climb?
You
weirdo.
just
What
look at him and
hell
you
are
just
you
start
doing outside my
dialing.
window?
Looking for my 17, 18-year-old
Yeah,
son.
yeah, you weirdo.
Yeah.
Again,
Are
80s
you his
buffoonery.
friend's father? Like, what's wrong with
80s.
this?
80s buffoonery.
Oh, the 80s.
Oh,
damn, you
wacky
guys, you
80s.
wacky.
So silly,
I know,
so
right,
silly.
Mila? How about
oh,
those
yeah.
80s?
Oh yeah, it was crazy times, you know.
Oh,
So
the
you
I,
hear.
in fact,
shit
So
as
you hear.
as a seasoned '80s liver,
season
2080 maybe.
Yeah, good times. Yeah, I mean, that movie was it was, again, far-fetched, but like a lot of those plot holes could have been cleaned up with just a little
Yeah.
bit of better writing, just slightly better.
Yeah.
Just slightly
Right?
better, right?
Have him
Yeah.
have him pour the whole Tabasco sauce into the cup first. Now you got nothing left in there,
Now you got
no
nothing
worries
left.
there.
Well,
and then you
I think it would have to be
after he
a
drinks,
lot
you knock the
less.
cup off.
I think it would have to be
table.
a whole lot less in that jar because he had a good amount in that jar.
heck, maybe
It
even
wasn't quite a
say,
quarter
"Oh,
of the
this
jar,
isn't
but
enough for an effect."
When
No,
you
make
put
it-
it,
even
when
that,
you go into
you
a
know?
Bloody Mary, you're not dumping that. It's a few
depends on how-
shots.
well,
But remember, he's only had a small glass. It wasn't like a big tall.
Well, how
glass.
much-
It's
So
just
make
small.
it-
So he's
so
only
make
putting a
it-
couple.
no.
Of, what are you putting, like three or four?
Just make it a
best?
little bit of just make it a regular liquid. So the minute you turn it over, boom, it's all gone. It just
Yeah.
goes in, and then the cup that he's drinking from that originally did have it knock off the table. So now you can't
Yeah,
go back.
yeah. When they switch out, they're like,
Right.
oh
Yeah,
my
especially
God.
like, and he's
He's
freaking
got it in
out.
his hand, he
Go
drops
grab the
it.
glasses.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shit,
Right,
you know?
right. He's got it in his hand. All of a sudden, the switch happens, and he loosens his hand,
Yeah,
and
'cause
it
he's
falls to the
freaking
And you
ground.
can do it like
He's
slow
screaming.
motion too, so it's like dramatic.
Now you're talking.
No, it's
And then
gone.
With some
Dramatic
dramatic 80s
slow-mo.
electro
Did
music.
we just make a better movie?
I think we might
I
have.
think we've done this a couple times.
We
Actually.
Yeah.
just made
Yeah.
a better movie.
And we had a dramatic slow mo.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
That
Where's
would've been-
Michael Bay when you need him? Get some fucking lens
slow
flare
motion
on that
stuff.
gun.
Oh, yeah.
Make it all kinds of yellowish orange.
Oh my god.
That would be fan. Do like one
I
of the
mean-
360 wraparounds. Ooh, the slow
So
turn.
yes, you can all see it.
No.
I mean, like Bruno said, it's
All I knew was
there's so
some
many
what's his name?
ways.
Put some doves in there, right? Some what was the guy who did the Hulk movie? Ang Lee.
Ang Lee.
He's like,
Ang Lee.
and then
Doves
some
is his
doves
thing.
go across the
Yeah.
glass.
Yeah, when he did that, Mission Impossible. There's a couple of other ones that he did. Face Off.
Face off, yeah.
But again,
yeah.
awesome movie. Again,
Oh, yeah.
there were certain things in this that could have gotten cleaned up. It wasn't the worst of the worst.
No.
You know, I mean, I definitely did like it.
Vice versa is still on our shit list
Oh,
of the worst
Vice
of the ones
Versa
we
was
watched.
bad.
Yeah, that was
man.
the worst.
Yeah,
That was
that one
absolutely
was.
the worst.
So what do you give
one.
this one? We'll go start with Bruno this time. What do you give this one as a rating? Or did I start with you last time?
No, it's fine. We got to leave room for the rest of them.
How many serums do you? How many serum?
How many Tabasco bottles?
I went 1.5 for the for
Vice
vice versa. This will probably be
You went one and a
like
half? Oh, that's right. You changed
Because
it.
I went it down because
'Cause
you
we-
talked me.
Yeah, you
talked me down.
talked me down from that one too.
It's all my fault.
I'm gonna go with like 2.5 on this one.
All right, I'll buy that. I get that. I'm at a 3 on this one.
Yeah.
I'm with 3.
I'm with you. I'm on a 3 Tabasco sauces because I thought it was
Close on a 3.5 with that huge plot hole of whether you can't just drink it again. That brings it down for me.
That for me was a big one. And the other one for me, like anytime
I like the comedy better because I like Dudley Moore better.
Yeah.
So like that would have been a 3.5 to 4 almost with me with him, but that fucking plot hole.
Well, there's a lot of plot holes.
Unexplained. Well, that's the big one though. To me, that's the giant fucking elephant in the room.
Yeah, no, it's
Like,
a big one.
I get it. There's
an
antidote, but you never explain why this thing that works one way doesn't work the other
way. Yep.
Right.
Like if they had said it, like the Indians, the Native Americans, they said it's just only this is why you can't just fucking drink it. His uncle, if Uncle Earl or whatever just said, yeah, you can't. This is the way it only works this way. Okay, fine.
right.
Nobody
Even
ever
on the way
explains
there,
why you can't just drink it
driving.
again and
So
go back.
that's one of my major issues with why I'm so frustrated by a lot of the bad writing, right? Because when you write a story, when you write a concept, you kind of work things out. Okay, this guy's going to do this, and he's going to turn into that, and he's going to become here. Like this movie, they transferred bodies, and then you review it later, and you're like, okay, does everything kind of stick together? Why couldn't they have fixed it later? And then you're like, oh, you know what? We could have fixed it later.
Pickup scene.
So
There's a pickup
why
record
don't I rewrite this a little bit? And I'll make him drop the glass. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the things you do when you're a writer who's worried about the story sticking together. When you don't care at all, and you're just like,
you get like Father Like Son.
I don't have to care. Look, I'm going to write this, and it doesn't resolve, and I don't care. Here you go, guys. And then make it into a movie, and nobody at any point says, let's make him drop the glass, so we can't reverse it.
And you don't even need those actors in there. You know what I mean? It's a slow scene. You can just have the glass falling. You don't need to call Dudley Moore back to do this. You
So my
just
question is this, right?
Yeah, anybody sitting in those shoes.
Now I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. What if, when they originally did write it, all that stuff was in there, and they said, "Listen, somebody here's a 100-page script," and like, yikes, can you cut it down some?
Sure.
That's the part that doesn't need to be cut.
But
I'm sure there's plenty of
I'm-
other stuff in there that could have been cut.
Fair enough, but I'm
So
wondering.
then you have to go through the script and say, what parts don't impact the script? And so you say, okay, we don't need to show them partying in 2 scenes. We'll just show 1 scene. You cut out one of the party scenes, maybe. Or the information I was going to transfer to the reader or to the watcher in this scene here, we'll transfer it to them in this other scene. We'll get rid of this.
But that's I mean,
that's how you would do it.
Right, but that's not a logical sense. So I'm wondering that if they just said, you know what, do we really need to explain that there is an antidote at the beginning? Or can we just tell them that there is an antidote when we need the antidote?
Yeah, that's okay. They explain
But
the antidote.
that's fine.
I get that.
You've got to
but
explain
it's
why
such a
they
why
couldn't
the serum
fix it.
itself doesn't make you switch.
Listen,
It's such a specific circumstance, though.
I get all that. But I'm wondering if they
You're saying maybe the director just cut it
said,
without
hey,
thinking.
he's like, listen,
maybe
he
did.
Yeah, he was like, hey, you know what? We're gonna let them know. I mean, they're gonna find out that there is an antidote when we tell them, hey, there's an antidote.
So
And
he
that will
wasn't
be just
thinking
good
it through,
enough.
right? He wasn't thinking it through.
So I'm wondering
That's
if
possible.
What the problem for me is, antidote in my brain is like you've drunk poison, and if you need something to counteract the poison.
I don't think they
This
should
isn't
have used
poison.
that word.
This makes you do something
antidote doesn't
very
make sense.
specific. So if you drink, let's say, a poison, and you drink it again, you're just more sick. You're gonna die a little faster.
Right.
This, you drink it again, it should just make you do the same thing it did the other way, just like a poison would do, right? You drink it again, you're more poisoned. I drink this again, we switch back.
Yeah, they should not have used the antidote as a
maybe
word.
just the wording was.
Yeah.
Should have been. I've got a something.
To make it-
Ah,
make
the
you switch
switcheroo
back.
right here.
To make you switch back, to
The
make your brain switch back, you have to drink
I've got
transferring
more
serum.
of it or something. Yeah, they shouldn't have
or we
used
need to
antidote.
make more. That would have been good. We lost it. We need to go make more.
Yeah.
And here's how it's made.
Yeah.
Definitely wording.
But we had it, right? All right. So, Mila, did I get your rating on this one? I'm sorry.
No.
What's your rating?
I'd
five.
probably say.
Out of 5. Out of 5.
That joke is never going to get old. Just
Thanks, guys. I forgot for a second.
We know.
I'd give it like a 3 because I gave the other one a 2.5, and vice versa, a 2.5. So I'm like, I liked it a little bit better.
She's not
But-
judgy.
No, but I mean that's kind of.
But
what
yeah,
we do,
no,
though.
it's still. Although I don't know, I'm kind of hesitating because I'm still like, it was a bad movie, and I don't think 3 is the deserving factor.
Yeah, I'm
so
with
I
you
think
on
it
that.
might
I'm
have
with
to
you
just
on
still
that.
sit at a 2.5.
Instead of that 2.5, you know, you
Yeah, I might just sit there because I'm like, look, it was a little better, but it's
That's a
still
little bit
not
better,
good.
But it still deserves
So
a
2
2.5.
3/4.
No quarters. No, we're not doing
No,
that.
no,
Can we add into eights? Let's go eights.
2.6.
I quit.
Take it or leave it. 2.6.
Mila will not be inhibited by
that's
your
it.
rating scale. Do you understand?
I quit.
Yeah,
She makes it up as
2.6.
she goes
That's
along.
my order. That's
All
my
right, awesome.
thing.
All right, gang. So that is Like Father, Like Son. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate everybody listening as always. Feel free to drop us a line. Let us know what you thought of Like Father, Like Son. Let us know what you thought of the podcast. Drop us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you would be so kind, find us online at entertainmentrants.com. And I want to thank again my ranters. Thank you, Bruno.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bro Larry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mila.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go check on Bruno and see what the hell happened there with the
Hello?
stroke. With the stroke.
Should we ask again?
Just one more time.
I'm gonna 7 out of 10.
That's 16
5 out of 4?
eighths.
Dad?
How about
Dad?
16 eighths? That number doesn't make
Wait,
any
can we
sense.
say it out of 100? I like 100. It's got more options.
16 tenths. All right, everybody. Hashtag.
Let's rant.
Let's rant.